Hey guys, it's Kristin. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make these tombstones for Halloween. So I'm going to show you what you need and how to make them. For this project, you will need some gray spray paint, some wood stakes, some washers, wood screws, screwdriver, permanent marker, some black paint, and a paintbrush, an Xacto knife, and some webbing, but this is optional. You will also need a large piece of rigid insulation. I've cut mine into thirds, mainly because I needed to fit it in my car, but this also makes it more manageable when we're cutting the tombstones. The first thing you'll want to do is remove the plastic from both sides of the foam board so that your spray paint will stick to it. I cut my boards into roughly 2.5 feet wide by 2 feet tall, but you can really make these tombstones any size that you want. Next, we're going to outline the tombstone, so use a marker or pencil, and you're just going to curve the top a little bit and then go straight down to the bottom. Then using your knife, you're going to carve along that edge that you just drew. Since the foam is not that thick, you should be able to cut through it very easily. Next, we're going to take our gray spray paint, and you're going to want to start along the edges and then just kind of fill it in and just make sure that it's completely coated so you can't see any of the pink. Now I'm using a screwdriver to make little indentations and marks so that it looks more authentic. You really cannot mess this up because imperfections are your friend. Really just start nicking it up. As you can see here, I'm like taking chunks out of the side so it looks like it's broken. Then I just drag the screwdriver along the side to make what looks like a crack, and you just go over it a couple of times. I even dig out a little bit just so one area is a little bit deeper. I'm also scratching up the side because it's a very crisp, clean cut, and tombstones don't really look like that, especially if they're old, so I'm just kind of jagging up the sides. Once you have the tombstone the way you want it, then you'll use some of the black paint to fill in those cracks and outline those indentations and all the jagged marks that you made. This will make them really stand out, especially at night. Now it's time to put some lettering on the tombstone. So in most cases, you want to start with RIP, so rest in peace. I am using a permanent marker so that I can outline it first before I start painting. We decided to go with a funny theme, but you could also go more on a serious side, whatever you prefer. Now use some of that same black paint and paint over the writing that you already placed on the tombstone. I decided to finish it off with giving it a date range. Just make sure this is something really old because the tombstones nowadays do not look like this at all. Now it's time to install the hardware. I spray painted the washer so that it would blend into the tombstones. Then you'll want to grab 2 of your stakes and figure out where you want these in your yard and start hammering them into the grass. Now in this part of the video, you can just use stakes if you use a thicker foam, but for us last year when we used stakes, we got a really bad windstorm, and when they blew, they snapped in half. So this year we decided to use a thinner foam, and then we just used washers and screws with stakes on the back. So you really have a various different options that you can do here, but this is what we're doing so it's a little more sturdy. We hammered in 1 stake first, then figured out where the placement would be with the tombstone, and then hammered in the second one. Now place 1 of your screws into the washer and then screw it into the front of your tombstone so that it lines up with one of the stakes that's in the back. As you can see, you can't tell where we screwed it in, and at night you'll never even notice. Now this next part is optional, but you can take some webbing and kind of run it along the side and a little bit of the front of your tombstone just to make it look a little more spooky. And that's it, you're done. So on Halloween night, just shine a flashlight on your tombstone and you will have a really, really spooky yard. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe.